Hello everyone, DarkOfAllTrades here. One question, arguably the most honest, that I often see theists repeat when addressing atheists is, what would you need to stop being an atheist? For this, the common response is something along the lines of sufficient evidence, just like with every claim. What would it take for me to believe you have a pet llama? Pictures and video would be a good start. Maybe take me to your house and show me that you have sufficient space and equipment to house a llama. Finally, you could just bring me your pet llama. All of this would be excellent evidence. Can I disprove you didn't just borrow someone's llama and brought the equipment as a means of deception? No, but I would generally trust that a claim such as the ownership of a pet, even if a bit exotic, would likely be true, and the repercussions for believing it and being wrong are minimal. This leads me nicely to the video. Today's video is a short from the channel Spencer Nakamura, titled, How to Turn an Atheist? Not sure if that's supposed to be a question or not. Is it like Turn Undead from Dungeons & Dragons? But seriously, I'm gonna guess this is either gonna be some heavy preaching, or maybe, just maybe, Spencer here has some evidence that he would like to provide, in which case, I keep an open mind and enjoy evaluating the evidence provided. Let's see what he has to say.
Only heaven silent for an answer.
How do I get an atheist to believe in God? In my opinion, an atheist is not an atheist because of his head, but he's an atheist because of his heart.
This is something I've seen around a bit more recently. This seems to be pushing the idea that atheists are dishonest or not logical in coming to understanding what they believe. It is pushing this ideal that lack of belief stems from an emotional or intuitive conviction. It seems to imply that one's atheism is driven more by inner feelings, values, or personal experiences, and all of this at the cost of dismissing intellectual reasoning and or empirical evidence. It smacks so heavily of the, they deny him in their unrighteousness. This is such a heavy projection that I could use it to screen movies. I would posit that it is the theists that rely on their feelings and even more popular personal experiences to justify their beliefs of their God, while many atheists constantly are asking for evidence to back up the claims of theists. Of course, I would give many reasons why I am an atheist, not the least of which is mountains of evidence of things that occur naturally, while we have effectively zero evidence that anything happened due to anything supernatural. I'm an atheist because that is the direction the evidence points. If you have evidence pointing to a God, as I stated before, I am open to investigating and evaluating.
Even if there was definitive proof of God's existence, atheists still wouldn't be Christian.
Rather than getting upset at this guy for pretending to know the minds of all atheists, I'll simply address the point he's making. I would say that maybe some number, myself included, would not be a Christian. But why exactly? For this section, let me grant his position in its entirety. I grant that atheists wouldn't become Christians even if God was proven to them 100% to exist. But let's remove the dishonesty aspect from the conversation and trust that people are trying their best to be as honest as they can. Some atheists may have deep-seated emotional or psychological reasons for their disbelief that wouldn't automatically disappear even in the face of evidence. These reasons could include negative experiences with religion or a strong attachment to their current worldview. Some atheists highly value their independence and autonomy in forming their beliefs. Even if the existence of the Christian God were proven, they might resist joining any organized religion out of a desire to maintain their freedom of thought and choice. Even if the Christian God were proven true, atheists might still prefer other belief systems or spiritual paths that better resonate with their values, experiences, or understanding of the world. Some atheists might remain skeptical about the nature of the Christian God even if its existence were proven. They might question the attributes ascribed to this deity, or they might still have doubts about the reliability of the evidence presented. Even if the existence of the Christian God were proven, atheists might still have moral or ethical objections to the aspects of Christian doctrines or teachings. They might not want to align themselves with a belief system they find morally problematic. Becoming a Christian entails more than just a belief in the existence of God. It often involves adopting a whole set of cultural practices, social norms, and community affiliations. Some atheists may resist converting to Christianity because they don't want to change their way of life or because they fear social repercussions. There are many more reasons I could talk about, but I want to open this up a little bit more here. Excluding the ideas, what are some other reasons why an atheist wouldn't become a Christian even if whatever form of the Christian God was shown to exist? Let me know in the comments.
Whoa, what a claim, Spencer. How can you say that if God was right in front of an atheist, they wouldn't believe?
Well, there are a number of reasons why. Take the llama example from before. A llama is a more exotic pet than a cat or a dog, but they still sometimes are kept as pets. If someone brought a llama to me and told me it was their pet, I would likely believe them. Why? because I'm aware that llamas exist and sometimes are kept as pets. I've had previous interactions with llamas at zoos or Renaissance fairs, to which others can attest that they actually happened. I can generally recognize a llama when I see one. I have empirical evidence of llamas. I have objective evidence of llamas. I have scientific evidence of llamas. We know llamas exist within the framework of natural laws and biological principles that can be observed and understood through scientific inquiry. I have a lot of reasons why, if a llama were in front of me, I would very likely believe it existed, while the same would not be true for a god. If God were standing in front of me while I was outside, depending on what they looked like, I would either assume that they were some person dressed in a costume, which is very common given my ties to cosplay in the Renaissance fair community, or I would likely think I was hallucinating. If I see a llama in front of me in my front yard, it would be very strange, but I would likely not think I was hallucinating. If we had anywhere near the same evidence for any god as we do for llamas, there would be a lot more believers, and I would be out of a job here. But we don't. We have apologists who try to rationalize their beliefs, which fall apart every single time.
In the Garden of Eden, Adam and Eve would walk with God.
In Return of the Jedi, Luke walked with Darth Vader. That is not evidence that the actual character Darth Vader exists in reality. The fact that there's a story with characters that interacted in the story does not mean the story happened in reality. As I'm getting distracted for just a moment, the more I think about it, this comparison is a pretty interesting parallel. In both instances, there's a significant interaction between mortal beings and powerful supernatural entities that shapes the narrative and themes of the respective stories. In Return of the Jedi, as Luke walks with Darth Vader to confront the Emperor, there's a parallel to the idea of walking with a deity or divine figure. Luke, representing the forces of good, must confront the embodiment of evil, the Emperor, with what could be said to be the guidance and influence of his father, Darth Vader. This interaction carries profound symbolic weight, echoing themes of redemption, the struggling between light and me, and the complexities of familial relationships. Similarly, in the biblical narrative of Adam and Eve, their walks with God in the Garden of Eden symbolize a close relationship between humanity and the divine. It is often interpreted as evidence of God's existence and involvement in human affairs, as well as illustrating the idyllic state of the pre-fall world. This comparison highlights the significance of both of these encounters in both a religious and fictional context, which I think demonstrates how they contribute to the broader themes and messages in their respective narratives. But that's enough distraction for now. The point is, Spencer comes in already accepting that a God exists and the stories in the Bible are true, so this story doesn't require him to prove anything to convince himself. Atheists don't accept this story in the Bible is true, so to try to use it as some form of evidence is a swing and a miss.
Obviously, that is undeniable proof that God exists. Would you not agree?
Obviously, that is undeniable proof that Darth Vader exists. I guess Spencer needs to convert to Jediism now.
And Adam and Eve walked with God, and yet in their pride, they chose not to be with God.
I have no idea where he's getting this from. It wasn't pride that separated Adam and Eve from God. It was this God that kicked them out of the garden. It was God that made them flawed. And according to nearly every Christian, God knew exactly what would happen before even making the garden in the first place. Though, to be more understanding than any one person probably should, there could be a strained interpretation that might attribute their decision to pride, such as desiring to be like God or seeking knowledge beyond what was permitted. It doesn't show in the Bible, and in fact, isn't this supposed to be the temptation or influence of the serpent? Adam and Eve didn't know right from wrong, good from evil, until they ate the fruit. If it was anyone's pride that separated Adam and Eve from God, it was this God's pride.
I mean, look at the Israelites. Imagine being in Egypt when God brought those plagues.
Spencer is presupposing the truth of these Bible stories, ignoring the evidence against them. We know the Exodus didn't happen. We know the Red Sea was never magically parted only to be closed again on Pharaoh's army. For any of these stories to be anything like evidence, one has to accept that they happened in reality, at least in some form close to the story. Until we have actual evidence outside the story, we cannot justify believing these stories as true.
Imagine being at the Red Sea when it parted. That is undeniable proof that God existed.
Imagine being on the Death Star when it fired its laser and blew up Alderaan. Imagine being on Yavin 4 during the assault on the Rebel base. Imagine being there when Darth Vader entered the Rebel ship to capture Princess Leia. By this logic, that is undeniable proof that Darth Vader existed. The Bible is the claim. That is where you are getting the claim about Adam and Eve or Moses. So yes, I can deny it, and not only do you not have the backing evidence to support that claim, but we now know Adam and Eve as well as Moses didn't actually exist. Much like your God, they are simply characters in a story, just like Darth Vader.
A pillar of fire appearing out of nowhere. That is undeniable proof that God existed.
How is a pillar of fire appearing out of nowhere, whatever that actually means, undeniable proof that God existed? This seems to be taken from Exodus 13:21-22, again, which we know didn't happen. However, let's grant as much as I can here. Let's pretend that there was an exodus from Egypt. I'll even grant that there was a pillar of cloud in the daytime and a pillar of fire at night. Now what? How do you get to therefore God? The Bible says it was God, therefore God? I don't accept that. Because the Bible says it, then it must be true. Spencer doesn't actually know where the pillar came from. The people traveling, remember, granting they existed, don't know where the pillar came from. This is one great big, I don't know, therefore God.
And what does it say about the nation of Israel? That they complained and they were unbelieving. If people with undeniable proof of God's existence, still some of them decided not to choose God, then I know that it's not about belief in God. It's about surrender to God.
Some people had undeniable proof that God existed but decided not to choose God, again, whatever that means. So it isn't about belief. It's about surrender to God? Well, this may be a fair point. As I explained at the beginning, there are a number of reasons why one wouldn't become a Christian even though they knew for a fact that a moral monster of a God existed. And the video just ends there. So what? The title was How to Turn an Atheist. Did we ever figure out what exactly that means? Turn atheists away from his channel? Because great success there. Just in case, let's go over exactly what was said in the video. An atheist is not an atheist because of his head, but because of his heart. Atheists wouldn't be Christian even if they had definitive proof of God's existence. The story of God walking with Adam and Eve in the garden is undeniable proof. In their pride, Adam and Eve chose not to be with God. Other stories in the Bible are undeniable proof that God existed. The problem that these people have is they actually believe in God but just don't want to surrender to God. So how does anything he said show how to turn an atheist? I still don't see it. I see a bunch of unfounded assertions, stories that we know didn't happen, and logic with which I could prove pretty much any character existed. I can't help but think this was just a way of calling atheists dishonest in some way. Or maybe it was trying to tell other Christians that atheists aren't looking for evidence of the existence of God because Romans 1:20. Perhaps this is a way of conceding that Christians don't actually have evidence for the existence of God and should stop trying to pretend like they do because it doesn't matter. What do you think the message was supposed to be? Because I don't see a single thing in here that would convince any atheist of anything unless they already accepted the Bible as true, in which case they were not an atheist. That's it for this one. So what do you think? Do you think that Mr. Nakamura's video would be able to turn an atheist? Or do you think the only turning that happened would be their stomachs or just how bad the video is? Let me know in the comments below. I wish I could say that I'm pleased that after taking a short break from response videos, that finding content is easier now, but realistically, the quality of content has not gone up at all. Though if you think my video is quality, you can show that by hitting the like button. You can easily find more response videos by hitting that subscribe button if you haven't already to get that content delivered right to your door, or at least to your screen. Feed the algorithm with a comment or two. All hail the mighty algorithm. Speaking of hailing, an extra strong thank you to my patrons, Calamitous Anima, Sora, Long-Haired Lefty, Musical Ocelot, Ooga Booga Luga, Tarek Alkasab, Javanbomb, Kai Henningsen, and Triple Towel, who are the evidence of the pet llama that is my channel. If you would like to be a little more exotic than a dog or a cat, you can join them for as low as $1 a month, patreon.com/DarkOfAllTrades. As you see, each Patreon member gets their own special one-of-a-kind artwork to represent them. I'll even send it to you if you'd like. But seriously, I just received my first payment from the YouTubes for my channel, and it isn't much, but it feels great to know that my work is finally having some return. Maybe one day I can do this as a more regular job like those big name apologists. If that happens, I would like all of you to come on this journey with me. Thank you. And as always, keep learning.